you feel that? Do you feel it? Your days are getting shorter, your summer nights getting cooler, the air becoming a bit more brisk. And it all means one thing: football is back. Welcome to the most glorious time of year. The off season is over, the drama is over, the litigation is, well, mostly over. Rosters are set, and it's time to talk Cleveland Browns football. Welcome to the Burning River Sportscast. I'm Kenny Thunder, along with my partner in crime, Red Hot Ronnie Jams. Your home for Cleveland Browns football and all things Cleveland sports.
Yeah, thank you, Kenny. So, as my astute colleague has mentioned, we are the Burning River Sportscast, and we will be bringing you sports news from the land, the big CLE. We're talking Browns, we're talking Cavs, we're talking guards. We're talking it all. But right now it's football season, and we all know that Cleveland is a football town, so we're going to focus on the Browns for now and the foreseeable future. However, if you're more interested in the Cavs or the Guardians, then there's no need to despair. We will dabble a little bit. We'll get you some of the news that comes out with them, especially if something big happens. Who knows? Big signing for the Cavs. The guards end up making the playoffs. We'll talk about it a little bit.
We may even cover some Lake Erie Monsters.
Yeah,
on site.
Possibly. They won a championship a while ago.
Live streaming.
So when can you expect the Burning River Sportscast? Well, we will be releasing new episodes every Thursday through the NFL season, as well as some bonus content here and there when the situation calls for it. As I said, Cavs make a big move, guards make the playoffs. We'll be there.
Browns playing prime time.
Oh. We'll do special episodes for that. So, Kenny, how excited should our listeners be for this?
They should be pretty excited. Here's the thing. If certain appendages become engorged for longer than probably the length of our podcast, you should consult a physician.
Yeah, I would.
So it's going to be fun. We're going to have fun. But I think we are just super excited to get this thing started. We're super excited for the Browns season to start. Feels like this off season has dragged on.
Yep. Wait, before we do that, let me let them know where we can find our podcast before we get into the off season here.
I'm just rearing to go. I'm ready to go.
Jumping the gun already.
I'm ready. I'm in.
So just so you guys know, our podcast can be found on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, pretty much anywhere you get your podcasts, you could probably find ours. So take a look, subscribe, show us some love, comment, do whatever you got to do. Tell your friends.
Just find.
We'll go from there.
Just find the podcast. We're the pod people. All right, so we know where we can find the podcast now.
Yes.
We've located the Burning River Sportscast.
Burning River.
All right, so let's talk football.
All right, let's do it.
I will say this has been the longest off season of my entire life. It does not feel like I did not. At no point did I feel like I was getting ready for a football season.
I mean, how much more drama and nonsense and just ridiculousness can you pack into an off season? Not to mention just the normal, acquisitions.
Well, like that's the fun stuff,
departures.
Right? Like we're getting free agents, we're thinking about schemes, they're bringing in new coaches, like whatever. Like there's an off season that's meaningful and is fun, and this just felt like we were in a really bad crime drama for the last 5 or 6 months.
Yeah. It's regardless of your feelings on obviously the big elephant in the room, the signing of Deshaun Watson, which we'll get into in a moment, regardless of your feelings on it, it felt like it was like taboo. Like you weren't supposed to talk about it, but everybody wanted to talk about it, but you weren't supposed to talk about it, so we didn't talk about it.
But we did talk about it.
We talked about it ad nauseum.
And it made me nauseated.
Yeah. But at the same time, it was like, it was like, you're a Browns fan? Yeah.
It's one of those, you're from Cleveland, I'm sorry. Like, that's always how it is. And this offseason felt like...
All those people out there don't get it.
It felt like an exclamation point on that.
They don't understand.
So let's recap kind of where we were.
So the first part here, Baker is out.
Baker out. We know
Baker's out. It started with the Browns going to see Deshaun Watson. This is where the drama started with the whole Baker Mayfield situation.
Wanting an adult in the room.
Yeah, they wanted an adult in the room, but that came later. So first, we'll just kind of do a timeline of what happened with Baker here. So they went to see Deshaun Watson without letting Baker know. Baker felt slighted. He wrote the open letter saying goodbye before the end was even here.
Felt bad.
All bad optics for everyone involved. And then from there, the Browns leaked that they wanted an adult at the position while signing somebody with a lot of their own issues going on.
22 civil lawsuits at the time.
At
that time pending
a couple more
criminal lawsuits or recently settled.
Yeah, regardless, so that happened. From there on, there was a little bit of back and forth. Baker did a few interviews. There was some just strange things that were coming out of Cleveland in regards to the Baker situation until eventually Baker gets traded, and we basically had to pay to get rid of him. So, I mean, does that sum it up? Oh, I forgot one. So just in the last week, Baker says there's no hard feelings, but leading up to this first game, he has released a T-shirt for his revenge game that says he is off the leash.
He distanced himself from that a bit.
Well,
he said it was his people.
He can try, but it's his company, so, I mean...
Well, and then there was also the matter of whether he did or didn't say he was going to bleep them up.
You could say it. You could bleep yourself out.
I was just in general. It came out that he said, I'm going to bleep them up, and then he was kind of like, I didn't say that, but...
He said it.
He probably said it.
It's Baker. We have Baker for 4 years. We know exactly what he said.
And here's the thing. I like Baker. I liked Baker while he was here. He won us a playoff game. I don't have a bunch of animosity towards Baker.
No, and you'll hear me talk bad about him here and there, but I really don't either. I mean, I'm very thankful that he got us to the playoffs, helped get us to the playoffs. I'm very thankful that he helped win us a playoff game.
But that is his personality.
But yeah, I'm kind of I go with Baker. So I was very high on Baker when he was winning and doing well, and he had that swag. But I was very much, once he started playing poorly and things snowballed, because they always did for Baker. It wasn't just he played poorly. He would also keep running his mouth, and bad things would keep happening, and it just got worse and worse.
He was injured. Let's not relitigate the Baker thing. I think we've covered. Baker's out.
Baker's out. See ya.
Deshaun Watson's in.
Well, kind of. He's kind of.
Again, just following the courtroom drama. Certainly, sensitive issue. Difficult to talk about. I think that's what's been fascinating to me was, especially around town, listening to sports personalities kind of talk and dance around this. They're excited about having Deshaun, but at the same time, refusing to really acknowledge. Even like you can't. They couldn't even on the radio. They couldn't even say the things that he did. Right. I mean, if you go back and read the transcripts of some of these interviews and what these the alleged victims were saying, like, you can't even talk about that on the radio or on TV.
No.
But it's like, hey, he's our quarterback, so as long as he wins, we're okay with that. So it's cringe a little bit in general.
It is pretty cringe, and the unfortunate fact about it, whether this is right or wrong, we won't get into too much of the politics of everything and all of that. But whether it's right or wrong, I think the elephant in the room regarding that is that people will forgive him if he wins.
Oh, 100%. Because that's
like I said, I'm not condoning that, but that's just how it is.
Yeah,
he's a sports figure.
100%.
So people are going to forgive him.
We ignore those things for athletes, for actors, actresses, musicians. It doesn't matter. Once you've reached that certain level, people just will let you kind of do what you want. So
So anyway,
is what it is.
So here's where we're at. All the cases have been settled, all but one at least. The suspension has been administered. He's serving 11 games. Starts this week.
Yes, that's an increase from the original 6 from our friend.
But a decrease from the full season that the NFL was hoping for. So let's get into that just a little bit here. So the NFL likes to play good guy here, and they like to play hero, and they like to tell everybody that we're pushing for a full season, right? They care so much. They want him to have the maximum punishment possible. But when they realized they weren't going to get the maximum punishment possible, and that all they'd be really able to settle for is somewhere in the 8 to 12 games range, where did it land? 11 games.
Weird.
Who do the Browns happen to be playing in that 12th game?
It might be... Oh, it is his former team, the Houston Texans.
Oh, go figure. So yeah. He definitely... Deshaun Watson definitely deserves flack on this, right?
The NFL knows how to sell tickets.
Yeah,
right?
the bottom line is the NFL, they got to make their money.
Never let a good crisis go to waste.
No way. So, on the other side of that, the NFL continues to bash Deshaun Watson. And again, I don't want this to sound like we're 100% on Deshaun Watson's side. But the fact of the matter is, there have been 3 owners that have been caught doing similar things.
They don't want to talk about that.
No. As a matter of fact, Robert Kraft, he got caught doing basically the exact same thing.
Well, the act, right?
Yeah.
The volume, the frequency was different.
Well, I'll give you that. It was way different. But
at least what he was caught.
But what he was caught doing, and here's
was
the difference.
Was that Robert Kraft's first time?
I don't know.
At the rub and tug.
I don't know. But here's the biggest difference, in my opinion, is Robert Kraft is on video. There's actual irrefutable proof that he did what he did, and still there was no major punishment for any of these owners.
Yeah.
But here we are, Deshaun Watson suspended for 11 games.
So it's 11 games. I'll say before we jump into Jacoby taking over, the one thing I think we're all as Browns fans thinking, like, how do we get through? How do we remain buoyant at least until he gets back?
Yeah, we're gonna float.
The big question mark that I have, and I don't know that I've heard anyone else really talk about this. I have real concerns about this guy's mental fitness.
Deshaun Watson's?
Deshaun Watson. I mean, you're thinking about the most high...
you can't overlook the fact that the entire time this is going on, and even he just doesn't have the capacity to understand, like, I should probably apologize.
That it was wrong in some way.
I did something wrong, regardless of what actually happened.
Well, because
people were uncomfortable and people accused me of something, I need to acknowledge that.
Here's the thing, and I think this is what no one wants to talk about, right? Like, Deshaun Watson's play was, I'm going to find a girl on Instagram that I like, and I'm going to go get a massage from her. I'm going to bring my own towel, a real tiny towel, a washcloth. And then at some point I'm going to, oops.
Oh.
You can, if you want. Like, that was his whole play. That alone concerns me, right? Like, this is an NFL quarterback, a guy.
And this goes beyond. I'm not trying to shrug off Deshaun Watson, but this goes beyond Deshaun Watson. This is celebrities in general. Like, people with any clout whatsoever think they can get away with everything, and it's wild to me. But him specifically, you talking about his mental state, the fact that you do this over and over and over again.
Right. I mean,
don't expect somebody to say something.
It's a serial behavior. Whether or not assault happened or not, like, the fact that you're putting yourself in that situation intentionally over and over and over again.
Just that alone means you've got something.
There's something not right there. And you're talking about a guy that's going to be the leader of the other 52 men on the roster that plays the most high-pressure position in all of sport.
Absolutely.
It has to be a leader.
That's the guy leading your football team.
That's the guy leading your football team. The guy that does the towel trick. I dropped my towel.
Yeah. And we're making somewhat light of this. We know it's a serious situation. I will take this moment to say that if these allegations are true, that our hearts go out to all the victims, and that's not something anybody should ever have to go through. Men, get your shit together. Let's be better.
And even if it's not true, that's a terrible trick.
Awful trick. Why would you do that?
Oops, my towel fell off.
Why?
I don't know. So I guess that's
11 games. Yeah. We'll move on here. 11 games of Jacoby
Brissette,
and then Watson comes back. So we'll get into Jacoby a little bit here in a minute, but probably more in the preview for game one. But let's talk about some of the kind of the big name players from the offseason, right? Some of the returns, additions, departures, those things. So let's start with returns and additions.
So Deshaun, obviously.
Obviously, he's the biggest name that came to Cleveland.
$230 million guaranteed, bunch of draft picks.
Which is wild because, we've already seen that even though the Browns did that, there was speculation at first like, oh, man, is this the new norm? That's why everybody was mad at the Browns. The owners didn't want to pay like that.
They're still holding out.
Oh, yeah.
We've seen a couple deals since
We've seen a couple deals, and while the overall number is up there, the guaranteed money is nowhere near.
And the Ravens refuse to pay Lamar.
Wow.
That's a whole other podcast.
Yeah, he's about to be franchise tagged for a while. Are we going to see another Kirk Cousins incident? You like that?
Amari Cooper.
Amari Cooper.
Are you excited about Amari?
I actually am. I think that we got him fairly cheap. I mean, cheap. Especially with everything, all the receivers that were changing teams around that time, we paid almost nothing for him.
What did Christian Kirk get? I mean, he got a 4-year deal worth upwards of $70 million.
Yeah, and like Amari Cooper's worth that deal.
Right.
Christian Kirk, I don't know.
Amari has a solid body of work.
Oh, yeah.
Really solid.
Not to mention, I mean, wasn't he hurt last year? Didn't he get hurt last year?
He was hurt last year.
So, I mean, that probably plays into us getting him at a little bit of a discount.
Yeah,
and I think the Browns' favors, but I mean, it's not like he's injury prone. He hasn't been injured his whole career.
And I actually like the fact that he's coming back off of an injury because he'll have something to prove.
And he's still on the younger side, right? So he's in his prime. It's not like Jarvis Landry that we had last year, which we'll get to him in the departures, but Jarvis Landry coming back from an injury after he's 30. So. And
Jarvis just wasn't the athlete that Amari is. And Amari is.
No.
And Amari is such a smooth route runner.
Yeah, I am excited about him. I'll be far more excited about him when Deshaun Watson comes back because he's got a much bigger arm than Jacoby Brissette.
Well, and I think it was really important that they made the move for a premier talent, a wide receiver, because
we needed it. I mean,
the wide receiver,
you kind of see the offseason how it went.
The room is not strong.
It's still a little rough. So we'll move on there. Jacoby Brissette.
Jacoby coming in.
Yep, which is huge now. Hindsight being 2020, that was a huge pickup because you get a veteran that has I would say, as far as mobility and those types of things, he's got a similar skill set to Deshaun Watson. He's not Deshaun Watson?
I don't know about mobility. I think
he can move.
He ran like a 5 flat 40. Like he's really slow.
I'm not saying he's fast. I'm saying he can get out of trouble. He's shifty back in the pocket, and he can get out of trouble.
I think his skill set's more of like a Ben Roethlisberger in terms of mobility. Like he's big and lumbering, but he's strong.
I'm still going to stick to my guns on this, and I've seen him play a few times.
Ronnie thinks,
and I think he's shifty. He can get out of pressure situations.
Ronnie thinks Jacoby Brissette's a premier talent.
Here we go. This is going to haunt me
all
year.
Hall of Fame quarterback.
Didn't say any of this. So
Ronnie is excited about 11 games with Jacoby.
I mean, we could have done way worse. We could still be sitting with Case Keenum.
That's true. He's the only quarterback less athletic than Jacoby. Is Case Keenum.
So
I liked Case. Good guy.
Yeah, but So next up we got Chase Winovich. He came over.
Cut his hair.
He did cut his hair. He's all business now.
He didn't have just not much to talk about during camp, right? He was in and off the injured list and just wasn't a big factor, but did make the 53-man. So I think young talent on that defensive front is important to have.
Absolutely. Yeah.
We'll see what happens.
So, Jakeem Grant
was really excited about this.
I was really excited about that because that also, not only was he a return specialist, but I think we could have figured some things out with him on offense.
He was probably obviously Deshaun and Amari were big, but as far as like role players, Jakeem
that was a big deal.
Probably
he's done for the year.
Yeah, the one I was most excited about. So losing him hurts.
Yeah, he's done for the year, but gives us something to look forward to. I mean, there's a lot to look forward to, but gives us a player that we wouldn't have seen by that time to look forward to next year. So, Chris Hubbard. Remember, these are returns and additions. So Chris Hubbard, Anthony Walker Jr.
Yeah, I was glad to see they brought Anthony back.
Yep.
I think he brings some veteran leadership to that front seven.
Yep. Some of the it did bring some leadership. Some of the bigger re-signings that we had, Jadeveon Clowney coming back was huge. It's really going to help our defense stay tough on the defensive line there. So get a lot of pressure on the quarterback.
And then money bags with the extensions for Njoku and Ward. Ward certainly warranted, right?
Oh, he's fantastic, and I know he was hurt a little bit last year, but he is a true lockdown corner when he's playing. Like you can't pass on him when he's in there. So he's going to continue to go to Pro Bowls, multiple Pro Bowls. Yeah, he will. So, and then the departures, we'll go through those real quick here. We got J.C. Treader.
Wait, what about Njoku? We didn't even talk about him. Oh,
we can talk about Njoku. We probably should, actually, because we gave him big money, and for what reason?
Look, I like David Njoku.
Let me get this straight. Let me get this straight. We went for David Njoku. We decided we're going to go. He's gonna demand a trade at one point. We're going to tell him no. He's going to stay and say he's going to earn it. And then he earns it a little bit, and then didn't he demand another trade? And we said no again. And
I think Stefanski talked some sense into him, and I think he's ready to go. But I think he has a lot to prove this year.
He does have a lot to prove, especially with the money they gave him. I mean, don't get me wrong. He's probably one of the most athletic guys on the entire team. He's fast. He's strong. He's very, very athletic.
And he has the best end zone celebration.
He does.
For sure.
Yeah. So, but he does have to prove it. He's going to have to earn it this year. Really going to have to earn it.
Earn it.
But as far as Njoku goes, he's definitely, like we said, he's going to have to earn it. But Austin Hooper is gone now. So, I mean, they gave him all the platform he needs to really break out of his shell and perform.
You don't think Harrison Bryant's coming for him?
No. I think Harrison Bryant, I do like him. I think he's a decent player, but I don't think he's coming for Njoku.
What about Jesse James?
No.
Oh, we're not in the position groups yet? Okay.
No. Just relax over there, big
guy. Couple key departures.
Yep, J.C. Treader.
Happy trails. He retired, didn't he?
He did retire. Yeah. He decided that he didn't want to play if he couldn't play for the Browns. Don't blame him.
I think that the NFL
I think he's blackballed.
I just think that had a lot more to do with it than even where he is physically. And
yep, he sat out there for a while. Nobody signed him, and I think it was just like,
I think that's a hard job to have.
Yeah, people.
It's a really hard job.
Really, you can gain some enemies
because it's politics, right? Like no one likes politics,
I don't like them.
To take a leadership position like that,
I don't like him at all.
It just puts you in a tough spot. Right. So you feel for the guy, but hey. Had some, we appreciate his time.
We appreciate you. Jarvis Landry, he was kind of the heart and soul of our team for a little while here.
I remember the day we signed Jarvis Landry.
I was so excited.
So excited. I mean, we had, for the first time, what felt like...
Well, and especially because kind of like we talked about Amari, right? We got him for, if I remember correctly, when we first signed him, we got him for a discount because he was coming off an injury.
Yeah.
And he didn't sign anywhere else. It wasn't a huge discount, but, we paid him, but... We got him for somewhat of a discount, and he brought that instant leadership to the receiving corps.
I mean, when you think about where the Browns have been for the better part of the last 2 decades, and then thinking about where they're at today, where we have talent and aspiration.
Yeah.
A lot of that started with Jarvis.
Right.
Jarvis brought
he helped turn the culture around here.
A huge culture change to Cleveland. I think when the story is written on the Cleveland Browns,
his name's definitely going to be in there.
In this era, the turnaround started with Jarvis, and Baker gets, I think, credit there too.
I think he does too.
The two of them had a lot to do with the way people see the Browns now and where we're headed.
Yeah, I mean, the whole mentality of come to work hard, do everything you can to help the team. I mean, that started with those guys. So, whereas before it was just let's try not to lose.
Happy trails to Jarvis.
Jarvis, we love you.
He just physically wasn't at the same. I mean,
yeah,
he was a dinosaur.
I mean, a receiver once you get over 30, I mean, you start having injuries and stuff.
Well, you have to be a spectacular. You have to be the exception.
There's only a few people that can truly flourish after 30 at receiver.
Guys like Larry Fitzgerald were still productive into their 30s and mid 30s.
That dude is ageless. I mean, not now, but for a while he was just. It was almost like the Tom Brady thing where you're like, when are the wheels going to fall off?
Ronnie loves Larry.
Larry Fitzgerald is my hero.
Ronnie Jams.
He's good, dude. He's good. Austin Hooper, we already mentioned, he's gone, which, thank God.
On my do not draft list for fantasy, for sure.
Oh, that was probably the worst investment any team's ever made. We paid him.
Look, here's the thing, though. Because he was productive before he got here. So it was scheme, it was Baker, it was, I don't know, it was something. Like, he doesn't suck.
If you guys don't understand Matty Ice's MO, just look at Austin Hooper's numbers when he was in Atlanta.
Yeah.
Let's just dump down to the tight end.
I mean, he was productive. And it just wasn't a fit here. So glad to see Hoop go.
Yep. And then finally, for departures, a whole mess of draft picks. So basically, if we can't win with the players we have now, we are thoroughly screwed.
We're done.
Yeah, it's over for us.
No more drafts.
If we don't win a Super Bowl in the next probably 3 to 4 years, just prepare for a 15-year rebuild.
I was having a conversation today, and someone was like, well, at least if the Browns don't do well this year, we'll get the good pick in the draft and good next year. And I was like, no, not happening.
That's not how that works.
Not how that works anymore.
And even if we're bad for the next 3 years, we're just bad.
We're just bad. Always a possibility.
Real quick, just the one major coaching change, I think, in the offseason. We brought in Drew, what is that, Petzing?
Petzing, yeah.
Drew Petzing. We finally have a QB coach. I don't think we've had one in the last couple of years.
Baker was his own QB coach.
Maybe this is where some of the issues came into play.
Doesn't need a QB
coach.
You just wait.
So let's move on here.
All right.
Roster
is
set.
That's so that's our off season, right? And now I think it's changing gears. Like, roster is set, 53-man is set, depth charts are being set. We finally have made our way through the slog of preseason and camp, and we're ready to play football. So let's run down these position groups real quick and just see.
Do we want to go strengths and weaknesses? Is that how we're going to do this? And maybe talk about some of the players in each group?
Yeah, that's good.
All right, so we'll start with our strengths here. So top of my list is the same as probably top of everybody's list for the Browns is the running backs group, right? So, I mean, we still have Chubb.
Probably the best running back room in football.
Still have Hunt. Still have Dearness Johnson. Dearness Johnson.
Demetric
That's what I like to call him because he's always earning it.
He earns it. Demetric Felton, untapped potential there. Ton of speed, athleticism.
I thought Dearness Johnson was in trouble because Demetric Felton is, I mean, like you said, untapped potential.
Well, and he was an Andrew Berry draft pick.
Yeah.
So that seems to be like the get out of jail free card.
Yeah. What is the stat that I just saw the other day? It's like of his last however many draft picks. I think it's 24. Every single, or 22 of them are on the active roster right now. One's on IR and one is, there was something else with the other one. But they're all with the team still. All 24.
I think, I don't want to go all Illuminati on you, but I feel like that had a lot to do with the Baker departure. He wasn't Andrew Berry's guy. Wow. Andrew Berry wants his guy.
Well, I mean, you don't have to go Illuminati on me. It's not a secret. I mean, that's how GMs do it, right? Yeah. I mean, they come in and they like to have their guys. The guys that it's like that anytime there's a regime change.
Yeah.
Anytime a new GM comes in, especially the big name players, if you aren't winning games,
they want to bring in their own
you're
guys.
In trouble.
Yeah.
And in the Browns' case, I mean, not that we were going to the playoffs every year that Baker was here, but we were at least competitive every year that he was here.
And it felt like you were building.
We still let him go.
Yeah, it felt like you had a sustainable.
But it wasn't. It wasn't his guy.
It wasn't his guy.
So anyway, so the running back's very strong.
Jerome Ford. We didn't talk about Jerome, but
can't forget him.
I'm just as far as running backs go. But how many was that? 5 running backs in our running back room.
Yeah, and they're all solid.
Most teams don't carry 5 running backs. That's a lot.
It begs the question, why do we have 5 running backs? Especially when our top 2 and even our 3rd and 4th are real, like, why did Jerome Ford make the team?
I have a theory on that.
All right, I'd like to hear it.
It's because our wide receiver room is so bad.
Fair. Is Demetric Felton actually a wide receiver? Is that what we're going with?
I think we're going to see a lot of Kareem Hunt in the slot, a lot of Demetric Felton on the field.
I hope to God. And listen, Stefanski, if you can hear us, please give us more of Hunt and Chubb on the field at the same time. Please give us more of that. How do you defend it? Like, what do you do?
Only one of them can have the ball at one time.
Thank you. Thanks. This guy's a genius.
22 men on the field.
This guy is a genius.
One ball.
Anyway, so running backs, very strong. Move on to defensive ends here.
Defensive ends. Now I'm excited.
Like we said, we got Clowney back. Obviously, we got Myles Garrett.
My favorite part of having Myles and Jadeveon, honestly, is just having studs in Madden.
The only problem with Jadeveon Clowney is he is a Michigan boy.
He's a Michigan boy? He's from Michigan?
Nah, he's from South Carolina. I'm just kidding. He blew up the Michigan play, so actually he's my hero.
He was a Gamecock.
He's a Gamecock. I'm just thinking of that game, and I just thought maize and blue, and I just wanted to punch myself in the face. But
yeah, don't do that.
No, he blew them up, so now he's my hero. So.
Anyway, defensive ends, obviously bookend with Myles and Jadeveon. Expect monster years out of both of them.
Yeah, Jadeveon Clowney, did you know last year he was like 3rd in QB pressure? He never got home because he was kind of the guy that helped everybody else get home, but he was like 3rd or 4th in QB pressure.
And that's kind of his thing. People hear Jadeveon, and because he's a big name, because he was a high draft pick, you think like he's J.J. Watt or T.J. Watt or Myles, like in that same vein. He's not really a guy that gets to the quarterback 15 or 20 times a year. Like, that's not his style. He's a run stopper.
But he's definitely disruptive.
Yeah.
That's the word I would use for Jadeveon Clowney.
What I love about the defensive ends, too, is that we have this youth movement behind them with Chase Winovich and Alex Wright.
Yep.
Alex Wright's a big dude. So excited to have just the youth behind those guys. Should be a fun year watching them get after the quarterbacks. Yep,
for sure. So next position group we have in our strengths here is definitely the DBs. I mean, we got a lot of DBs. We got a lot of DBs. We got good starters and good depth there.
Some of the best in the game. I mean, I think
we talked about Denzel.
Denzel, tremendous athlete, lockdown corner. Newsome. He played well. I don't think he had a pick last year, which seems weird.
No, but he played well when he was breaking up passes. He was also, we'll use the term disruptive.
Very disruptive.
He didn't give up a ton of plays. So, I mean, we still got all of our depth as well. Who's our nickel this year?
So you got Greedy out there, Greedy Williams, the rookie Martin Emerson. Had a really nice camp. Big preseason. So you can't get too excited about preseason because
it's tough. We all know they're playing against backups in the preseason, but at the same time, you look at that because
he still made the plays.
While they are backups, everybody's in the NFL here,
and he still made the plays. Then you move back into your safeties: Grant Delpit, John Johnson. There's not a lot of weaknesses in that defensive backfield.
It's kind of ridiculous how stacked they are in the defensive backfield.
Ronnie Harrison,
Good name.
One of those red eye Ronnie Harrison.
Yeah.
D'Anthony Bell was surprised to make the team.
Yeah.
West Florida kid. West Florida hasn't existed that long as a school.
No.
For 5 years or something. He's the first NFL player from West
They're
Florida.
new. They're not sure what to do.
Yeah. But everyone seems really high on him.
Yeah.
That he's going to contribute this year. So the defensive backfield, again, very strong. Between that defensive front.
I expect a lot more. I think it goes both ways this year, right? I think our defensive ends are going to get home more often, and we're going to get more picks because there's just going to be more pressure. And we did a pretty good job of that last year, but I see more picks this year, and I see on the other side of it, I see a lot more coverage sacks this year, where hopefully our DBs can stay healthy.
Yeah,
and that frees up Myles Garrett for this thing.
And that was
we'll talk about this soon, but I think Myles Garrett has a monster year this year.
You actually just mentioned something that I'm really worried about. If I had a high priority concern for the year, other than our quarterback being out for 11 games, it's the health of that defensive backfield.
Yeah, they just can't seem to. It's weird because I don't think they are injury prone. They just all seem to get hurt at the same time.
Denzel's always nicked up. It's never anything serious, right?
Yeah,
but
he's I'm going to miss a game here.
Nicked up. I'm missing a game here and there. Grant Delpit obviously had the Achilles and was banged up a little bit last year. Banged up in camp this year.
Greedy had the shoulder issues when he first came in. He was the one with the nerve damage, wasn't he?
Yeah.
So he's coming back from that, and who knows how long that. Nerves are weird, man. Who knows if that ever comes back and haunts him again? So.
And I think if you lose any of those guys for any period of time, the significant period of time, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
Because they're so impactful. I think a lot of what they're going to do on defense revolves around.
Whereas I said we have a lot of depth. The step down from the starters to probably that next tier guys, because our starters are so good.
Yeah, if you
a pretty big step.
End up with AJ Green on the field, as your starting cornerback,
there's nowhere near Newsome, and
you're not that excited.
and Denzel Ward. So
there's that.
So let's flip over. Let's talk about some of the weaknesses here. So obviously we've already mentioned it a couple times. One of the weaknesses in my eyes is wide receiver, whereas we do have Amari Cooper on top. And I think that's great for us. Jakeem Grant is hurt for the year. He was probably going to get some snaps in there at receiver as a slot guy. And you go down and we got.
That makes your other starter Donovan Peoples-Jones.
Yep.
Which I think a lot of people had expectations for last year, and again,
there's still a lot of people really high on him this year.
Whether it was Baker or whether it was a million other things last year that didn't go right.
He just kind of
did not meet expectations at all.
No.
He was, I think, the leading receiver on the Browns. I think he had 596 yards or something.
Was that hard when OBJ left halfway through the season? Jarvis Landry was hurt for
fair
however many games, and
we had to roll him out in a wheelchair each week.
Yeah. He just hoped to play, and if he played for about a half, and then he was pretty ineffective in the second half. So. We love you, Jarvis, but that's just facts.
And then Michael Woods makes the team.
Anthony Schwartz, right?
And Anthony Schwartz. Anthony had a really disappointing camp, really disappointing preseason at least. I think his camp.
Basically,
I don't think he dropped every ball at camp, but.
Well, dang. I don't think he dropped every ball, but about 97%.
I think he caught more balls at camp than he did in the preseason in the games.
Fair.
He's one of those, again, athletes, untapped potential on that side of it. Super fast. But you got to catch the ball.
You do have to catch the ball. It's literally your job.
Not to mention, if we're going to go back to Baker, I blame Anthony Schwartz for the Baker injury.
Well, there's that.
So
there is that.
Watch your back, Jacoby.
Yeah.
And Deshaun. Anthony Schwartz will get you.
He'll get you. On to the next category. So I have for weaknesses here.
I had one more.
Who?
David Bell.
Oh, I'm actually really excited about David Bell. Good call. Thank you. I almost forgot him.
I think he's the wild card in that.
I think he could be big because he didn't have a lot of hype coming out of college
because he wasn't fast.
No, but if you look at his body of work at Purdue,
productive.
He was so productive and against big teams.
Yep.
Like there was big games that guy came into, and he would go for 150, 175 yards.
He's like the opposite of Anthony Schwartz.
Yeah,
he's not fast.
Anthony Schwartz is just a burner. He's supposed to just take the top off of defenses, and instead he drops every ball that comes his way.
Not fast, but
he'll
catches
catch everything. He's a Venus flytrap out there.
David Bell is a Venus flytrap. Mark it down. You heard it here first.
Boom.
He catches everything.
Boom. No, I am excited about David Bell. I think, like you said, I think he is a wild card on this offense. And if he can pan out this year and kind of flourish as the season goes on, I think that really kind of kicks our offense up another notch.
Yeah, I mean,
boom, bam.
Coming in as a rookie, right, you don't know what's really going to be expected of him in terms of how much he's involved in the offense.
He's new.
But you hope that when he gets a chance to play that he is productive. And
well, it's like they say for pretty much every rookie, you got to take advantage of the opportunities that you are given so that we can grow and be better, right? So I mean, he's got to take advantage of those so he can see the field more.
This goes two ways. He's the Venus flytrap, David Bell.
I've coined it. He is officially the Venus flytrap, David Bell.
Or he's Quincy Morgan or Greg Little. We don't even need sound effects on the Burning River Sportscast. Ronnie makes them.
I am the sound effects.
Red Hot Ronnie
I can't believe you put that on him. Greg Little? Greg Little? Oh, no.
I mean, we could go down a whole list of failed Cleveland Browns receivers.
That hurt my heart so bad. I'm literally lightheaded right now. Like it just stopped the blood rushing to my head, and now I want to pass out for David Bell because you called him Greg Little. Potentially.
Robisky.
Oh, no, an Ohio State boy. You just threw him under the bus. Come on now. That was coaching. And the fact that he just wasn't that good.
Wasn't his dad his coach? Wasn't Terry Robisky the interim head coach that year? I don't remember.
I don't know if he ever made it up to interim head coach. I think.
Terry Robisky was the interim head coach. His dad. I don't know if it was the same year. I think it was though. I can't remember.
I don't know. Who cares?
If only we had a
times you wish to forget. So next up in the weaknesses category for position groups, we got
probably linebackers.
Yeah. I don't think they're. I think we actually are.
I think we're better off at the linebacker position.
I would almost move them into neutral. I don't know if they're quite a neutral. I still see them as a little bit of a weakness. But yeah, I mean, I think we got a little bit better, but it's still not great.
I mean, you have JOK, and he's your weapon. And I like bringing Anthony Walker back. I think Anthony Walker adds veteran presence to that lineup. It gets really thin after that, though, man.
I know it's old news, but you know who really disappointed me? Mack Wilson. He came in and he had a solid rookie year, and then after that he was like, I suck now. I'm just the worst.
He's like the Anthony Schwartz linebacker.
Like so much hype after his rookie year, and then he's just
a ton of speed and athleticism. Could not tackle anyone.
He literally went from starter to just off the team in a matter of like 3 months.
I think I could break his tackle right now. Me, not like high school in shape. Me, like right now, I think I could run through an arm tackle at Mack Wilson.
What?
I'll take him 1-on-1, straight up.
You guys gotta check the video of this podcast because
Oklahoma drill.
You could have seen my face just now. I know you can't see it on the podcast, but check the video version because
I want an Oklahoma drill with Mack Wilson. I score every time. I'll score every time.
Mack Wilson, if you're listening, we challenge you to an Oklahoma drill.
He's not listening. He couldn't tackle his headphones. But
right.
Sione Takitaki, Tony Fields, Jacob Phillips.
Great name, Taki.
No great. None of those names are great.
You don't like Taki.
Yeah, because they do the cool sounder at the field. The Taki. Like that's it.
See?
That's it.
See?
That's all we got.
Fun name.
Jacob Phillips hurt last year. Coming off, the bicep injury. I hear good things.
It's one of those. Most of the people behind those first couple, They really got to prove it because as of right now, it's either unproven or you're just proven to be mediocre.
Or you're proven to be Anthony Schwartz.
Oh,
you've been weighed, you have been measured.
And you've been found wanting.
Defensive tackle group.
Yeah, pretty rough still.
I'm excited about the draft pick, Perrion Winfrey.
I think he makes an impact this year.
Yeah, I don't know that he's going to... I don't know how much he's going to play, but I think
at some point he makes an impact, though. I think he's going to have kind of a... I do think he'll see the field, and I'm hoping for a signature moment of his.
He's a dog!
A dog.
A dog. That was the signature moment. Like, what was the guy that jumped in the pool when we drafted him? Scooby?
Scooby Wright.
That was Perrion's Scooby Wright moment.
He's not on the team.
Scooby?
Is Scooby on?
No, that was like 10 years ago or something.
That was that long ago already?
It was a minute. Scooby was not here.
We didn't even keep him on the practice squad. His name's Scooby. He's a dog, for God's sake.
No, Perrion's a dog. Jordan Elliott, Taven Bryant listed as your starters. Tommy Togiai in that rotation.
Togiai.
A bunch of try-hard guys, right? I think there's some youth there, but like Ronnie said before, like these are some guys that are just going to have to prove it before you believe in them.
I can't wholeheartedly get behind somebody who hasn't shown me anything. It's just unless we just know you're an absolute stud.
Deshaun went 4-12 his last year as a starter. You're behind him,
bro. Just relax. Just relax.
All right.
So neutral. Oh, maybe we should have put some of these in this category as the unproven group. But I think this is more of like the neutral unproven as far as we think there's a lot of potential, and we think they're on the better side. But I think they're still neutral because they do have to prove it.
I think we start with the biggest question mark, which is quarterback.
Yeah, it's funny because a lot of people would be like, "What do you mean quarterback's not in your strengths?" Well, our starting quarterback's out for more than half the season, so
11 weeks is tough.
Yeah, I mean, by default, you almost have to put it as a weakness, or I'm sorry, as something that's neutral, because we've talked about Jacoby as serviceable.
I think even if you had a good backup, like they're backups for a reason,
right?
Right. I felt much better when the initial suspension came down for Deshaun, when it was 6 games.
Yeah, if he was sitting at 6 games, I probably actually would have moved him into a strength.
Yeah, for sure.
But the fact that it's 11, almost double the original suspension. Well, not quite double because he had to be back to the Texans, but almost double.
Tough. And just Jacoby is. I think Jacoby is what he is, and I think the problem is that we look at it and say we got the best running back room in football. Let's just run the ball. Let's pound the rock.
Every team knows we're going.
That's the problem. Every defensive coordinator knows.
I think more so than
that's what you want to do.
Those first 11 games, we're going to be leaning heavily on the defense. So hopefully they're much improved.
Agreed.
So QB, we're going to leave them in the neutral category. Tight ends, I'm going to put them at neutral. Harrison Bryant, like you said, good player. David Njoku, good player. I
gotta hit the rewind button real quick. Josh Dobbs.
I actually like him. I have been speculating in my head, not to anybody else, that he may get some games started.
I don't know how many he's going to start, but I keep hearing that there may be a Josh Dobbs package. I don't know that like gets me excited.
Well, he is athletic, and he played well in the preseason. Again, it was preseason, but I say that, whereas I know I've said Jacoby is serviceable, but even in that same vein, I see Josh Dobbs possibly getting the nod if Jacoby starts losing every game.
He probably will.
Yeah. Wait.
Tight ends.
Tight ends. So
tight end.
Like I said, David Njoku, Harrison Bryant, obviously they're solid, but I still put them in the neutral category because David Njoku, even with his big contract and all the hype around him, what has he actually done? We just don't know what this year's going to look like. We do know that Kevin Stefanski likes to use his tight ends. We know that he's going to be heavily involved in the game. You heard it here first. Kevin Stefanski loves tight ends. He loves tight ends. It's probably we're not going to go there. He's going to be heavily involved in a lot of the different packages. I think both Njoku and Harrison Bryant
are good downfield blockers, good run blockers, which means they're just going to be on the field a lot. I think you're going to see a lot of 2 tight end sets. And then the newcomer to the group, Jesse James.
Jesse James. I think he's a good depth pickup, but yeah. He had flashes.
Jesse James,
where he was before, but
I think Jesse James gives me nightmares because I feel like he was one of those guys that wasn't ever that good, but he played for the Steelers for a long time, and it felt like every time they needed a third down where they were down late in the game, like that guy made a play, and I was like, why is...
If nothing else, he can give us intel on the Steelers.
You're not even good. Why are you beating me?
Those are the guys that beat the Browns typically.
Every time.
Remember when we couldn't stop Benny? Chad Henne? Couldn't stop him. Anyways, moving on. Kicker, Cade York.
Cade York.
Yeah, so Cade York. I'm actually... I like Cade York as our kicker. I think that he's... I think he can be fairly consistent. I mean, that's the worst part about our kickers the last few years, right? Is we got nobody that can be consistent. We get one, we get rid of him. We get one, we get rid of him.
I think the best thing about Cade York is he just makes 70-yard field goals for fun. In practice.
He does have a leg. That's
huge leg.
Yeah. And you have to have that in Northeast Ohio, right?
Have to have it. I've heard him talk a lot recently about looking forward to just kicking at First Energy and kicking in, the snow and the wind and trying to figure out, Phil Dawson was so meticulous about, the flags that he put up there and stuff and about the wind direction and making sure that...
it's like Phil Dawson put all these flags up around the stadium and none of the new kickers pay attention to them.
They don't, but I think Cade has, and he has the leg to get it done. So... one of those things where you're like, do you draft a kicker? Probably not most of the time.
But here we are. And I'm excited. He does kick 70-yard field goals. So.
I'm hoping that he's the one that works out. It's hard to be a kicker in the NFL today because it feels like if you have a bad game or two, you're just hit the bricks.
Well, think about how many are sitting out there in free agency at any given time.
Yeah.
Like
Cade, that could be you.
Don't let that be you. No, but seriously,
the travesty would be Cade York is a free agent and Anthony Schwartz still has a job.
Seriously, though, with kickers in the NFL, there's not typically a lot to get excited about, but him kicking 70-yard field goals gets me excited.
Yeah, well, it's a weapon, right? Especially when you think about...
If nothing else, you make them think, like, maybe he could make this.
Well, but he doesn't always have to make a 70-yard field goal, but he is going to kick... long 40s and 50s, long 50s.
And they're not going to be different. Like, the length of the kick is not going to be difficult.
He's just going to be able to make them.
Yeah.
I mean, think about the kickers you've had here the last couple of years. You got 46 yards and longer. You were like, we're going for it on 4th and 11. That's fine.
4th and 11?
Baker, take
Might
your
as
torn...
well be 4th and 2.
Take your torn labrum and throw the ball.
Yeah.
So it's a weapon. I think the Browns are going to have to play ball control offense. Stout defense. That's how they're going to win games. So I think the first 11 games are going to be a true proving ground for Cade York, and he can make a name for himself during that time.
We spent a lot of time on the kicker. Let's move on to the...
He's the most exciting draft pick.
All right. So
he's must-see TV. Cade York is must-see TV. Woo! David Bell's a Venus flytrap. Cade York is must-see TV.
Okay. These are our hot takes from the day.
We went from the Scottish Hammer to having Cade York peppermint patties.
Yeah. Okay. Punter.
Skip it. Bajorquez, nobody cares.
All right.
Offensive line.
I put them in neutral. I know there's a lot of people with some of the injuries right now. It could go both ways. Some people would say they're actually a weakness because we've had a lot of injuries. Center's a complete mess right now. But there's other people that say it's a strength because they still have a lot of...
I would lean more into a strength with them. I know, you still have Joe Bitonio. Hall of Famer. Jed Wills, unproven to an extent, but I
would put him in the category of solid.
I think he's solid.
I don't think he's fantastic. I just think he's solid.
Which
he could. I mean, he's still. fairly young.
He's going to get a hell of a lot better. Wyatt Teller, road grader.
Yep.
Jack Conklin's a question mark because of the injury last year. He's listed as the day one starter right now, but I think that's.
If he's healthy and he's playing to the level he was before the injury,
I think that's a game time decision. So we'll see. And then, as you mentioned, center Ethan Pochik. Is it Pochik or I don't even know how to say his name.
I don't know.
Who was slated? Nick Harris was the one that got hurt.
Didn't two people get hurt? And then we ended up on our third choice.
It's never good when you're on your third choice.
Or was it just that we had an injury and they refused to bring back J.C. Treader? And then
I think that's what it was. But you still do have two centers on IR right now.
Yeah.
So not good.
Because the guy that ended up on IR, the other guy got hurt. Didn't they kind of skip over him? And then he ended up going on IR anyways.
Yeah. When's the last time your third choice of anything worked out? You're like, we can get Pizza Hut, Papa John's, or Domino's. You're like, scratch the first two. That's a bad example. They're all bad. Moving on.
Put Little Caesars as your third choice, and then I would probably agree with you. Anyways, third choice is never good. That's part of why I put them in the neutral category, just because I understand we are pretty strong, but another injury or two, and that could turn pretty quick.
So that's your 2022 position group rundown, 53-man roster.
Not a whole heck of a lot of surprises.
I think the biggest surprise is probably D'Anthony Bell, just because I don't know that if you would have told me in June D'Anthony Bell's making the team, I just would have asked you who. Don't know who that is. I had to create him in Madden. When you start the season and they give you like the full 80-man roster, it's like everybody that they've ever heard of that has ever played for the Browns. He wasn't there.
Feels bad.
So hopefully he'll get in on the next roster update.
Yeah. Potential stars in the group. I like David Bell, and this is people that it's not the obvious choices. I think the potential stars for me is you picked a good one with David Bell, because he's a Venus flytrap.
He's the Venus flytrap. I'll tell you who's not a star is Anthony Schwartz.
Man, Anthony Schwartz, please do not listen to our podcast, because you will do whatever the opposite of endorsing something is. You will tell everybody not to listen. And if you are a pleasant surprise this year, we will be the most happy bunch of assholes.
Anthony Schwartz is like, that fat guy hates me.
Oh, yeah? Well, you're fat. That's what he says. A good one.
In his Georgia Mud Dogs jersey.
Yeah. So
SCLSU.
So we're actually going to take a quick advertising break here before we get into the...
shoot. We have to make revenue.
Yeah. So here we go. Topaz Vodka from Topaz Distillery. Topaz Vodka is a Fuller-style vodka with pleasant tropical notes, including faint shredded coconut. Nuanced grapefruit and lemon rind complement the silky texture and smooth descending finish on the palate. Well suited for classic vodka preparations, especially the martini. Martini? I don't know what that is.
What's a martini?
The martini. Basically, what we're trying to say is this vodka slaps. It's available in Northeast Ohio, and especially right at the distillery there in Akron. So,
Topaz.
Get you some. All right, now that that's over.
Revenue.
Now that that's over, let's get into the matchup preview.
Matchup
for week one.
Ronnie James does all the sound effects and the music. Everything is him.
You don't need anything else.
I'm the sounder, but he's the music.
Here we go.
So week one, we finally made it. Now we are talking football.
Yeah. We're talking 2022 football. It took us a whole hour to go through the offseason because it was a shit show.
The first hour of this podcast, we all just lived just the last 5 months all over again.
You're welcome.
But now it's time for week one. It's time for football.
It's time for the Burning River Sportscast.
Carolina Panthers.
Baker returns, baby!
Baker returns.
Boo.
Baker returns.
Boo.
Jacoby starts for Cleveland. It's going to be a real interesting day for quarterbacks. I think
There's no shortage of things to talk about, as we just covered, when they get ready for the pregame show.
Yeah, I mean, I have to imagine there's going to be just a Baker cam. Just
oh yeah,
I mean,
I can't wait. I can't. You think he'll grab his nuts?
Like if you're CBS, I think it's on CBS this week. Like if you have that game, there has to be a camera on that man at all times.
Well, they're not in Cleveland. I was going to say, will Baker Mayfield pull out a flag and put it at the 50-yard line?
No, but if the Browns win, they better damn pull out a flag.
Oh, nothing would make me happier.
Damn pull out a flag. Pull out a damn flag. I can't even
They
talk.
better damn pull out a flag. No, but seriously, over-under on him grabbing his nuts and yelling at the Browns sideline is probably, I'm going to put it at the middle of the second quarter.
Look, here's the thing. I do think Baker's going to be hyped for this game, obviously. I think a big part of his tenure in Carolina to this point, though, has been to try to show some level of maturity. I think he'll be hyped. I think he's going to be intense.
He's so mature, he's off the leash.
Those were his people, right? He didn't do it himself.
Yep.
Even though he posted it like right on his Twitter the moment they launched.
Yeah. If I ever tweet something bad from this moment forward or do something wrong, I'm just going to say it was my people.
I like Baker, and one of my friends texted me and they was like, "Are you going to get one of those shirts?" And I was like, maybe if you made a good shirt, but the shirts aren't even cool.
Oh, it looks like trash. It's literally just a bunch of words slapped on a t-shirt.
They weren't even good. And
like that t-shirt does the opposite of slap.
I think maybe I'm partial because Cleveland is such a big t-shirt town.
Oh yeah.
I mean, like every
GV artwork,
like you can get that shirt at like your local grocery store. Like they have them everywhere. Just everyone's t-shirts about everything. So when his t-shirts came out and they were just ass, I was like, come on.
Oh, it was awful. It's so bad. It literally looks like I did it in word art.
Yeah, well, you're
just like I just pulled up Publisher and threw a bunch of things in there and said, "Here, slap this on a t-shirt." Now.
And you're not good at word art. So it's going to be a real interesting day for the quarterbacks. I think Baker. I think this game rides a lot on what the two of them do. Obviously,
I think it rides a lot on Baker's going to be Baker, and he's going to come out slinging. He's going to be hyped up. He's going to start fast. It's going to be up to our defense to weather that storm. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if the Panthers came out and scored on their first drive just because Baker is so hyped up.
Agreed.
But the defense is going to have to weather the storm and be the defense that we're hoping they're going to be all year long.
The problem is I don't know that either team is built to play from behind, at least while Jacoby's here. No. I think if the Browns get out to an early lead, that Baker will press and make mistakes. I think
he tends to do.
If the Panthers come out and just put it on us and it's 14 or 17-0 real quick,
Jacoby's going to be like, how do I dink and dunk to a win here?
It's going to be a long day.
He's like, my 6-yard passes aren't working.
No.
So there's that. So I would agree with you there. So
I think
any big position matchups in this that we really need to look forward to? 'Cause we mentioned how a lot of it rides on those quarterbacks, but
I think the next logical step is probably DJ Moore and Denzel Ward. Yeah. I think, again, just going back to the quarterbacks, DJ Moore is a force. But it'll be interesting to see how Denzel holds up against him. I think the X factor, and we'll talk about him a little bit later here from the Panthers side on offense, is going to be Robbie Anderson. He's just a guy. He's so fast. He's not the biggest, fastest, best receiver. Sorry, not fastest. He's not the biggest, strongest, or best receiver, but he is fast. And he's one of those guys he's streaky, right?
Yeah.
He'll have games where he puts up 2
trust
touchdowns.
Me, he's been on my fantasy team, 200 yards. And he's the most frustrating player because he disappears for weeks at a time, but then all of a sudden he goes off for 190 yards and 2 touchdowns. You're like, where did this come from?
The next 2 weeks, he'll just be like on a Greyhound bus to North Dakota, and then he'll show up and just put it on you.
Did he even play?
Did he even play? Did he dress?
Nobody knows. So that's probably it. Those are some good matchups. As far as receivers versus our DBs.
I think
I think the biggest one for me is going to be, we talked about our linebackers and our defensive tackles. being kind of in the weakness category, correct? So with that being said, they do, they have Christian McCaffrey. Run CMC over there. Is he gonna be able to run wild on us, or are we gonna be able to slow him down a little bit?
I'm worried about him.
I am worried. I would say he's probably the biggest, which is, I mean, that's not a hot take, but he's one of the biggest X factors for the Panthers, not only in this game, but probably the entire year. How does he come back from that injury?
He's so rarely healthy that he's usually not a problem.
Well, yeah.
But now he's healthy because he hasn't played yet.
Yeah. Go figure. We have to play him at full strength.
Yeah. So that could be dangerous. I think the other position matchup to watch is Carolina tried to upgrade their offensive line in the offseason, and they have a rookie left tackle, Ikem Ekwonu.
I'm glad you brought it up. It was on my list to bring up too, but oh my goodness.
I think he was the first
tackle Miles Garrett feasts. I think
the game will probably hinge on, like, can he protect Baker? Because if he doesn't, Miles will feast.
Yeah, and Browns fans know Baker can get rattled back there. I mean, if Miles Garrett gets a couple sacks in the first half, you don't. I mean, and it's not just Baker, honestly. I mean, who wouldn't start getting a little bit nervous and start looking over their shoulder?
If Miles Garrett was chasing you?
If he starts, I'm saying we're talking about the matchup. If he starts getting around that left tackle, and then you're like, we got this young left tackle. And
I'd be nervous if I saw him with a helmet in his hand.
Let's not go there. So,
I'm just kidding. We love you, Miles. I love you, Miles.
So, he's not the only one now.
True. And that is a travesty.
Yeah.
The NFL did
Miles
nothing.
Garrett suspended for the rest of the season. Donald just plays.
He had two helmets.
He was dual wielding and just swinging them, and he connected a few times. Did you hear the audio on that?
He was like Darth Maul.
It was popping
at football
off.
practice.
I thought somebody had a firearm at practice.
Yeah, because he was just donking dudes on the dome.
Oh, man.
How is there just no...
And I like how when they ask him about it in his interview, he's just like, we talk about practice.
How is there no reaction on the part of the NFL there?
None.
Oh, man.
None.
So bad.
It's because, what's his name, had his helmet off. I don't even know. It was Mason Rudolph had his helmet off, and Myles Garrett tried to decapitate him.
Well, that... different strokes for different folks.
But I was just saying why it was a little bit different. But at the same time, Myles Garrett took one swing, and
I mean, the NFL claims that
was
just because it was practice that it doesn't count. But
yeah, whatever.
I don't think you can just do that. And it was a joint practice. It wasn't even like
it was the other team.
It wasn't like he was beefed with his own teammate that was like talking about
blood.
his old lady. Like he was dual wielding helmets, and it's Aaron Donald.
Yeah, the highest profile defensive player in the league.
It's not Anthony Schwartz.
People made a big deal because it was Myles Garrett, a high profile defensive player.
High profile, just strong.
That too.
Talk about having a helmet on. He would just crack that helmet.
Who would win in a fight, Myles Garrett or Aaron Donald? That'd be a good fight.
There's
They're
a
both
lot of variables
pretty
there.
physically impressive.
That's kind of like, would you rather fight
Let's not go there. We'll
a
talk about that another
horse-sized
day.
duck or 100 duck-sized horses?
Oh man, you told me this before, but I don't know.
There is no right answer.
I don't know. Anyways, so you got into it a little bit before. Players to watch. You got a player to watch in this game?
I gave you mine. I think it's Robbie Anderson, and then I think it's the left tackle.
That's fair. For me, I'm probably going to go with Donovan Peoples-Jones, actually. Because we talked about it. I mean, he's been underwhelming. And
super underwhelming.
I think what he does in this game, I mean, obviously one game doesn't make or break your entire season, but I think what he does in this game could set the tone for his season. And it could be a big factor in helping us win this game because, like you said, we aren't typically built to come from behind with Jacoby at quarterback, so he's going to have to help us build a lead.
No, not built to play from behind at all. That's an understatement.
Yeah.
Yes, so How do you see this game playing out?
You know what? Let's shelf that for just a second before we get into the Browns pick this and how we see the Browns game going. Let's actually make our way around the AFC North.
Okay.
So we've got this week. We actually have an AFC North matchup to open the season with the Steelers and the Bengals.
Let's pause, because we're going to tally these as we go.
Okay.
For the whole season. Just the AFC North picks.
Oh, you talking wager?
We should have a wager. I don't know what the wager is yet.
Let's just shake on it. We will have a wager, and we agree to the wager, but we don't know what the wager is.
That handshake felt sexual.
Ew.
We will have a wager, so maybe that's something that we can throw out to the listening audience.
Yeah. So we'll make the picks this week, and we'll make the picks in the preview every week. And then we will tally them as we go when we do the recap the following week.
I don't know what the loser is going to have to do, but they're going to have to do something.
Yeah. So at the end of the season, so what we'll do is we'll do AFC North picks every week. We'll do Browns pick, and then maybe
they're in the AFC North.
I mean the rest of the AFC North. I think it was implied. Thank you. And we'll do a running tally, like you said. I think the tiebreaker can be our season-long prediction as far as the record for the Browns. So.
Fair.
All right. So let's go ahead and
the stakes are set.
The stakes are set. Maybe that'll be the bet. You have to cook me a steak. Just because it sounds delicious now because you said steak.
Do I have to cook
Although the last time you cooked me a steak, you burned it, so when we went camping.
We went camping?
Down in Hocking Hills in the cabin. You burnt the steak.
Wow. You're going way back there.
It was the last time you cooked me a steak, bro.
Holy smokes.
A few years.
Okay.
Yeah. I keep my receipts.
To be fair, that was a cabin grill.
The grill was broke. The grill was broken.
It was like there was probably 13 bachelorette parties in that cabin before we got there, and
the grill was broken. I'll give you that. Only like 2 burners worked on it out of the 6 that it had.
And I still burned it. All right, so that's the wager. Something we're going to have to do something embarrassing. It's not going to be fun.
Yeah. So let's start with the other teams in the AFC North. We do have an AFC North matchup this week in the Steelers and the Bengals.
Who you got?
I got the Bengals. The Steelers are in a huge rebuild this year. They're just not going to be good. Mitch Trubisky, come on.
That's fair.
Come on.
To me, this one's all about the quarterbacks. I'm not a huge believer in the Bengals. I
actually am not either, but I just think they're significantly better than the Steelers.
I don't know that they're like the one and done seems to be the common refrain, but I am not.
They stayed competitive this year.
I think they're competitive, but I'm not blown away. Like to me, they're not in the same class.
I think the NFL, what people don't like to talk about the NFL is it also takes a lot of luck and timing with that luck for you to make a run towards the end of the season.
Extraordinarily.
And they happen to be pretty darn lucky at the end of last year. I'm not saying they aren't a decent team. I'm just saying they got very lucky with the run that they made.
Yeah, and I think the NFL's was an 8-8 league before there was 17 games, but you're an 8-9 or a 9-8 league.
Yeah.
I think the Bengals are probably
right around there.
Right, just better than that. And that I think is their ceiling without getting very lucky. If they just play straight up and nothing weird or bad happens to their opponents, I think they're probably just better than 500.
I would agree with that. And I think we're both in agreement that the Steelers are definitely in a rebuild.
But the Steelers are bad. And I think when you look at...
Mike Tomlin always finds ways to win.
He does. And in a league that is an 8-8 league,
he always finds a way to be right around there.
Be in the mix.
Well, usually better, but in their down years, he finds a way to be right around there.
I mean, he got him into the playoffs last year with Ben Roethlisberger, just a broken man. And that brought me so much joy, but he was a broken man.
Yeah.
So I think...
So we're going with the Bengals. So we both have the Bengals.
Yeah, I think this one goes to the quarterbacks. And I do like Joe Burrow. I think that's why I'm picking the Bengals.
That is why. So next we got the Ravens at the Jets.
Ravens and Jets.
This actually is pretty interesting because Zach Wilson is hurt for the Jets, and they're starting Joe Flacco.
You think that makes it more interesting?
They're starting Joe Flacco.
Because he's a Ravens quarterback.
And he played for the Ravens for a long time.
Fun, interesting. Ravens win going away. This game doesn't matter.
Yeah, I don't think it's close. I think the Ravens win by probably at least 14.
Yeah. And Lamar still isn't getting paid.
I hope my fantasy players that I have on the Jet squad play well, though. That would be nice. Just a receiver.
Do you have you don't have their running backs? Their running back battle has actually caught my eye this offseason because they drafted Breece Hall, but they have Michael Carter, who seems to have been...
I think Michael Carter... I know there was a lot of hype around Breece Hall, but I think that Michael Carter still ends up being the full-time starter.
I'm on the same page.
Yeah,
and I think there's
he's
so much...
He's a solid player. I think it was back to what we were talking about before with... certain draft picks just kind of aligning more with GMs and things. Did they have any personnel changes? Like, why are they so down on Michael Carter after he had a solid season last year?
I don't care about the Jets, but I know that
damn Jets.
But I'm with you on Michael Carter. I think he ends up being the majority snap holder at the end of the year, whatever that's worth.
Yeah, I actually, you're talking about the running backs. I do have Michael Carter on one of my teams, and I got him in like the 12th round or 14th round, and I'm just like, yeah, no brainer. So we both have not a lot of drama here. We both have the Bengals. We both have the Ravens. Pretty easy matchups there for the first week. So
can we talk about the Browns now?
Yeah. So who do you got for the Browns at the Panthers?
You go first.
I got the Browns. I think we shut Baker up. I think he gets mad. I think he plays poorly the second half. Here's my biggest prediction for this game. I think Myles Garrett comes out swinging.
Oh, no.
Not swinging literally. I think he comes out, just pins his ears back, and I think he does some damage on Sunday. And I'm going with Myles Garrett has 3 sacks in this game.
Did you see, I think it was Baker texted Myles right when everything went down and he left. He's like, hey, really appreciate being a friend. Thank you for being a friend. And Myles just said, I didn't really know how to respond to that, so I didn't.
Just ghosted him. Sorry, buddy. We ain't teammates no more. Oh man, that makes me feel good. I think that actually also speaks to a little bit to. It's been rumored that Baker wasn't real popular in the locker room. I think that speaks to like he thought they were bros, but Myles Garrett's like, you're not on my team. Get out.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think it's a professional work environment, right? So everybody's got their things.
Yeah.
All right, so that's it. That's your pick. Myles comes out swinging. Browns win.
Let's just say he pins his ears back. I liked that better than he comes out swinging.
I'm not trying to get...
So many references to a bad time.
So, but in terms of just the game itself, there's nothing else. I mean, that's...
No, and I will go ahead. Do we want to do any scores or anything? Or we could give scores, but the scores don't really mean anything. Let's go with that.
Yeah, I don't know, whatever.
I'm going to go...
it's our show. We can do whatever we want.
That's true. I'm going to go 24-10.
No one's listening besides us.
I'm going to go 24-10 Browns.
24-10 Browns.
Yeah.
Okay. Here's where I landed on this.
Oh, God.
Because I've thought about this a lot. I've thought about it for every day since January. And certainly a lot more now, given the circumstances. I think this is going to be a difficult game. I don't think there's going to be a lot of offense. I do think it's going to come down to battle of the running backs. And to be honest, I think Nick Chubb certainly is probably my favorite player in the NFL.
I would agree with that 100%.
But Christian McCaffrey is absolutely dynamic. And he's healthy right now, which may only be for right now.
He's healthy against the Browns.
So I think that ends up being a wash. I think Baker comes out playing with a chip on his shoulder. I think he's very intense for this game. And if that defense can turn him over, we got a shot. But
wasn't exactly our strong suit last year.
I think it was Baker's strong suit turning the ball over. I think
that's true. That is true. Kenny with a rare shot on Baker.
I think the Baker factor is too much, and I think I think it plays into the lore of Brown's opening day.
No, I had us breaking the streak, and you're coming back at me with we're gonna keep it going.
I think Jeff Garcia and his lone win in 2004.
2004, the last opening day victory for the Browns.
It's just such a bizarre streak.
It is so odd. And we've had some games within that time frame that we absolutely should have dominated.
Yeah. And against some bad teams. I mean, Jacksonville's in there, a bunch of Pittsburgh.
We didn't. We lost.
Lose every time. And it's just such a bizarre, because we just talked about the league is such an 8-8, 9-8, 8-9 league.
Didn't we have a tie against the Steelers?
We did tie.
Yeah,
so we didn't lose.
We had one tie.
So we didn't lose.
How does it feel, Steelers, to be the only team that we didn't lose to on opening day since 2004?
Yeah. Just put that
Take
in
that
pipe and smoke it. Venus flytrap and smoke it.
Whoa.
So
I had us breaking the streak.
It's just
ending the record for the longest.
It's just such
the most years without an opening day victory in NFL history, and you have it.
It's such a bizarre streak.
Wow.
That we just can't win an opening day game.
Wow.
I think the Panthers win. I think the Browns lose, and it feels bad.
You're dead to me.
I think this is a 13-6 or a 13-7 game.
Oh man, as we were talking, I do want to, especially since scores don't count for.
Oh, you're just gonna amend your scores?
I am gonna amend it.
He's gonna amend it.
I'm gonna amend it. I'm sticking with the 24 for us, but you really swung me with this Baker talk and him coming out and being a big factor. So I'm gonna give him one more touchdown. I'm gonna go 24-17 Browns. Oops.
Could come down to a Cade York field goal.
That would be nice.
Because he's must-see TV.
What if he kicks a 70-yarder to break? What's the record in the NFL right now? Like 60...
63.
60...
No.
I thought it bumped up last year. I thought somebody hit like a 68-yarder last year.
I think you're right.
What if Cade York just breaks the record game one?
We
win the game.
Where's our guy?
We need to hook Alexa
Where's
up.
Stat guy at?
Yeah. Anyways.
So, yeah, I think...
So that's where we differ. So the tally...
Panthers win. Feels bad.
Somebody will be winning and somebody will be losing after week one.
That's true.
Nice.
As with all games, someone wins.
All right, so let's jump into, again, we're not sure what the wager actually entails as far as what the loser has to do, but the loser's going to have to do something. We'll put it on social media too. It'll be fun.
They will do something.
So, all right, so let's get into full season predictions. This is just the record for the Browns. I've been back and forth on this a little bit. Just because 11 games is a long time.
Really long time.
So I'm going to go with, I do have us being above 500, but okay. I have it at just barely. I think I'm going to go with 9-8. I think that Jacoby fares better than people think he will, but I think something that people don't think about as much as they should is the fact that when Deshaun Watson comes back, that'll be how many weeks without playing football and without his team?
A lot of days.
And it's going to be, so I think, he's a $230 million fully guaranteed quarterback. We got to play him as soon as he's back. However, I think it may take a couple of weeks and we may lose some games when he comes back that we should win. I mean, that's a tough game even going into, the Texans aren't that great, but that's a tough game going in and playing them for your first game back where everybody hates you.
I don't disagree. Everyone's going to hate him everywhere, by the way.
Well, yeah. I mean, just
Every stadium he walks into.
Houston, they're going to hate him even more.
I mean, they won't hate him all in Cleveland,
Man,
but there's
some of the chants in the
but there will be people
preseason?
in Cleveland that hate him until he starts winning.
Yeah.
So what's your final prediction? You said
9-8.
9-8.
That's what I'm going with for the
Browns 9-8. I wish I could be the bearer of better news. I do.
Man.
Because at 9-8, there's some hope.
Kenny's
there.
about to take us out on a sad note.
There's some hope that maybe you squeak into the playoffs, or at least you're in the hunt in December, which is fun.
Yeah.
This is a 7-10 football team. I just
is that solely based on the quarterback?
It's so much based on the quarterback. Yeah, I think. I think you still have youth at some critical positions. Linebacker, especially defensive line. And I just think that for the first 11 games, you're going to have such a hard time keeping up. The front end of the schedule is not bad. You have Jets, Falcons.
Well, that was part of what went into my saying. I think Jacoby
Steelers and
some people think he will.
Panthers, but yeah. I think we lose the Panthers game. I think a lot of people are hopeful that we'll start 3-1 or 4-0 in that stretch, and I just don't see that happening.
I see this.
Even against some of those bad teams. So I think they're going to have to make up ground early in the season, but you got some bears of games as the season goes on.
The middle of the schedule is
some
rough.
Talented teams, and you're just not going to be able to hang with them. So I think that this year is, hey, we're watching the Browns every week. We're hoping they win. We're hoping they can pull a rabbit out of a hat. But that's pretty much what we do every Sunday for the last 20 years. So I don't know that this year is any different. And I think this is, everyone, all eyes looking ahead to 2023, unfortunately. Get Deshaun back at the end of the year. Hopefully get him some good reps. Hopefully get a couple quality wins. Make sure you get out of this season with no one getting hurt. And you batten down the hatches for so that's it. That's 7-10. It's going to be a tough second half of the schedule.
That makes me feel bad.
And I think it's looking forward to 2023 and what we can do. So terrible off season, felt really bad, difficult to get through, didn't feel like football was ever going to get here. Football gets here, and I take a big dump on it.
Well, thanks for that, Cleveland. We have another below 500 mediocre, possibly finishing in last place in the division year.
Welcome to the Burning River Sportscast.
Now that's a hot take. All right, so that's our predictions for the season. We did our week 1 predictions for the AFC North. Let's do Super Bowl prediction. We'll start with you this time. Who do you got for the Super Bowl?
Super Bowl prediction.
Super Bowl.
I like... Are you ready?
I'm ready.
It's not the Browns, unfortunately.
Well, I ain't even making the playoffs. Not even close if your prediction comes true.
I like the Chargers.
That's a good pick.
In the Super Bowl. And Green Bay. And I think Green Bay wins.
You're going with Green Bay. Aaron Rodgers is just out there slinging.
He's doing the Hayabusa. Some drug up in the mountains.
Wow.
And he's COVID-free now.
That's true.
What am I basing that on? Just absolutely nothing. I think.
Well, it's good to know that there's a solid argument behind it.
Here's the thing. I added that to our show script, and then I totally didn't even think about it until you just asked me.
Oops.
So, Green Bay.
Green Bay it is for you. So.
Glad I went first so that I could think about it.
Well, you thought about both teams at least. I just went with my Super Bowl winner. That was all that I wanted to pick.
We'll go out on a limb. I did just now. Who does your winner beat?
Oh man, who does my winner beat? I don't know, man. I didn't even tell you who my winner is yet.
Who do they beat?
I don't know.
You don't know. These are the worst Super Bowl predictions in the history of predictions.
Maybe we'll predict again next week. We'll give it a little bit more
after
thought.
we see week 1.
Yeah, obviously. No, but my Super Bowl winner this year, I have Buffalo winning the whole thing.
Buffalo B-Flow.
Yeah, I mean, Josh Allen's been a stud.
You know, Buffalo's another one of those teams that I just can't get behind them being good. And they are.
I don't want them to be good.
They are good.
Big Cat, if you're out there watching, your team is finally good. How does it feel?
And they're such a mirror image of Cleveland in terms of blue collar worker, Bills Mafia, like Muni Lot, all this.
They got the Bills Mafia. They jump through tables and stuff. They've got us a little bit there.
I should have more of an affinity for them than I do, but I don't.
I think it's because they're so similar that you're like, no, we're that team. You guys can't be that team. We're that team.
I also just kind of like their colors are blue and red, white, and blue like America, but they're a Buffalo, but they're a Buffalo.
I like how the Buffalo Bills are just a Buffalo. They're just...
It's an all-American city, Buffalo. So anyway, yeah, I just can't.
Well, either way, I think they've got.
I think the Bills could win the Super Bowl for the next 3 years, and I'd still be like, they're not very
good. they got to prove it. 3 Super Bowls, come on. No, I've got the Bills winning the Super Bowl, and they just. I hate to say that they're good, but I think they are really that good. I think they are.
The Mud Dogs win the Bourbon Bowl.
True. So let me do a quick rundown here. Obviously, the Burning River Sportscast is focused on Cleveland Browns football, especially during football season.
Because we love football.
We're a football town, let's be honest, guys.
Because everybody loves football.
Yeah. But, as I had mentioned, we are going to touch on the guards, the Cavs, talk about some things they have going on.
All things Cleveland.
So, currently, the Guardians are in first place. They had a decent lead in the AL Central there for a minute. But then their bats went completely cold for a couple weeks, and they lost a lot of games. Luckily, every other team in the AL Central decided to lose games at the same time, and we're up by 1.5 games as of today. Most
of the AL Central just loses anyway. It's probably one of the worst divisions in baseball.
Well, so that's where the Guards stand as of this podcast.
Go Guards! Are we like full on calling them the Guards now? Like, do you still call them the Indians on accident?
I do call them the Indians on accident occasionally.
Or do you call them the Indians on purpose?
No, I'm not one of the people like, I'm not one of the people that's real mad about the name change or anything like that. I know we have a ton of Clevelanders that are, and all more power to you, but. I'm just kind of like, I support the team. I don't care what they're, unless they called them something absolutely ridiculous, which some people will argue that the Guardians is. I'm not in that camp. So
yeah, fair. I mean, I don't see any sense in belaboring the point and continuing to call them the Indians.
Right. But, whether we like it or not, they are the Guardians. Now,
but I just wish they would have done something cooler.
Yeah, I mean that's a fair point. I was rooting for the Spiders. I thought that could have been cool.
Anything cool, and I would have liked to see them do just if you're going to change the name, change it all, change the color scheme, change the uniforms, just go all out, go all out like Anthony Schwartz running a 40.
We will. What this helps us get into is on a future episode of the Burning River.
The Burning River Sportscast.
We will get into the name change and how there's some interesting facets to the name change going from the Indians to the Guardians and what history tells us about how those names are related.
Real Illuminati shit there.
Yeah, that's coming.
So stay tuned.
Coming. Stay tuned for that. So, but they again.
You just think it's such an innocent name change.
Yeah, everybody thinks so. But yeah, I mean, I'm when I call them the Indians, it's an accident. But I still do occasionally. It's going to take a while. Guards
is such a terrible abbreviation.
Oh, I hate the Guards abbreviation.
I don't know what else. I don't know what else we call them.
That's just what they are.
But
it's one of those things. It's like it's not as cool as the Tribe, but they're the Guards
again because they picked a dumb name.
Yeah. So moving on to the Cavs, we traded for Donovan Mitchell,
baby.
He's here! Let's go. The rebuild is officially over. There are no more excuses for the Cavs.
It'll be interesting to see just how that lineup holds up through the season. If they need to add some veteran bodies here and there just to...
Oh, I'm sure they will. I mean, you're going to have to. You're going to have to add some guys to fill out the roster. But
I'm excited about Ricky Rubio coming back.
Yes.
I think that's... I think the last time him and Donovan Mitchell were together was pretty special. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yep. The big note that I have here is we now have 3 All-Stars on our roster, and the Rookie of the Year runner-up, all on one roster. They're all under 26. The only other team in the entire NBA that has 3 All-Stars on one roster is the Warriors.
And the NBA just feels more. It might just be me. It feels more open than.
Well,
it has
it's funny because usually the stars, the superstars dictate everything. But some of these big names haven't been winning the last few years. I mean, like the Warriors keep winning, but
God, they're the worst.
But do you know what I'm saying? Like, LeBron's not going anywhere. The Lakers didn't even make the playoffs last year.
Yeah, and like I don't know what Kevin Durant is even doing anymore. Like, what are they? Or Kyrie?
They are made for each other, so it's good that they're on the same team because those guys are just wiggity wild out there.
What is going on out there?
One's a flat earther. The other one just got a porn star pregnant.
Shit's wild.
It is wild.
But we got Donovan Mitchell. And also a whole mess of draft picks. Gone. Again, just like the Browns.
Yeah, but in the NBA, draft picks don't really mean anything.
Fair.
Players carry far more weight than draft picks do in the NBA.
Oh, agreed. So, I think players carry more weight in the NFL. It's weird how we value picks in the NFL, too.
I actually agree with that. I want to... what was the GM just recently that everybody made all the memes about? It was like, I don't need them picks or whatever. Do you know what I'm talking about? One of the GMs out there.
Was it in LA? Because
I think it was.
They were
LA.
like, screw picks. We're just going all in to get players and win.
Yeah. And it worked.
It's fair. I mean, I'll take players every day over.
I would agree with that.
Over potential in picks.
How many times do we talk about how the draft is such a crapshoot? And there's busts left and right throughout the entire first, second, third round. And yet we sit here and talk about how drafts are so coveted. And
when's the last time the Browns had a good draft pick?
Denzel Ward. Myles Garrett.
Okay. Well, it's been a minute.
Anyways, so yeah, the future is bright.
Two. You get 2.
The future, Nick Chubb. The future is bright for the Cavaliers, though. Like I said, all of their stars are under 26, and we have them for several years.
Should be a very fun season.
Yep. Not just the Cavs, by the way. All the
Lake Erie Monsters.
No, hang on. The Cavs are all their stars are under 26. I think the Guardians have one of the youngest teams in the MLB, and the Browns are very young as well. So
the future is bright.
Yeah, the future is bright in Cleveland. Let's keep it going.
The stars are aligning.
We're not going to touch on the Lake Erie Monsters today, but we can get into them another time.
Except the Browns are going to be 7-10.
Yeah. So.
All right. So hey, this was pretty good. This is Burning River Sportscast.
Burning River Sportscast.
Hopefully you enjoyed it.
I enjoyed it.
Next week,
I'm going to listen. I'm going to be one of at least 2 listeners. So.
We will follow up after the Baker Revenge game, the Baker Revenge tour. See if Miles can put him in his place. And we will recap the Panthers game, and then we will do a preview of the Jets game and see what else is happening in Cleveland at the time. See if the river is on fire or not. We'll be back next week on Thursday.
Yep. And so for Tap In Media here, don't forget to check out Tap In Media on. They're on Facebook. They're on YouTube, they're on Twitter, they're on Instagram. We're on, I don't know why I keep saying they.
We. You
can find us at The Tap In Media. That's for Twitter, Facebook.
Hey, the sounder. Tap In Media.
Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. We're just search for Tap In Media. You'll find us. And then on Instagram, we're Tap In Media Official. So.
Official.
For this podcast specifically, Burning River Sportscast, you can find us on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram. We will throw those links in the video, in the description of the video, and probably in the description of the episode as well, just so it's easy to get to it. So,
like Ben Stiller.
I mean, most of them I think have it'll be linked. You'll be able to get there.
Like Ben Stiller at the
end. But go follow us, like us, do all that stuff.
Can you do it?
And you can find the podcast again: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, Stitcher, pretty much anywhere that you can find podcasts.
Wherever.
The Burning River Sportscast.
Wherever you get your podcasts.
So, Kenny, I think that's it.
That's it.
That's it.
I feel good. Remember, don't be a part of the problem. Be the whole problem.
And only you can prevent river fires.
Burning River Sportscast.
Burning.